And as we put forward this vision of rebuilding America with popular power, breaking out of their globalist financial system, we must oppose all political repression. The deep state is moving in on too many people right now, threatening their rights. And that is why we absolutely condemn the horrendous FBI raids carried out against the African People's Socialist Party, the Uhuru House, and Chairman Omala. Here today to show that we are not afraid, we are not intimidated, and that we offer nothing but unequivocal full support and solidarity to them while they're under attack. Please stand up, comrades. Come on the stage, please. Revolutionaries and civil rights activists as agents of Russia is one of the dirtiest tricks of the U.S. deep state. They called Martin Luther King Jr. a Soviet agent. They called the Nation of Islam foreign agents. And we are here today to say that black people have the right to organize, fight for their rights however they choose, and that the U.S. government has no right to call them Russian agents or repress them in any way. The FBI raids must now stop. Must stop immediately now. Stop the raids. We want to turn the podium, the microphone over to our guests. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Kalambayi Andenet, and how I always start any speech that I ever do is with a chant. So I want to teach you, or maybe you already know it, join in, because this is just the meditation of my heart, even coming here, and why it would never be any kind of retreat. We would never surrender. We would never compromise. We will continue to move forward and build. Fist up! Fist up! Fist up! Fist up! Fist up! This is what fight back look like. So I just really want to start off by saying I really want to appreciate the organizers that put on this event, no matter what road you have took, small, big, or large, for making this gathering happen and reaching out to the Uhuru Movement and seeing this unjust raid is your fight. That they came after us today, but who's next? Because this is an attack against the whole black community. We see this not just an attack against Chairman Omala Yeshitela, Akile Anai, Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela, Chairwoman Penny Hess, Jesse Knoll, and all of our comrades that were directly attacked from this raid. But this is an attack against all of us. That's how we see it. So I say, I want to slow down, because I have been traveling here from St. Louis, Missouri. And when Chairman told me, I'm sending you to Chicago and speak to a group of people, I went to y'all website. I said, Chairman, you sure me? You sure you want to send me? And the reason why I didn't have the confidence at first to come, because to be truthful, I am part of the peasant. I'm a girl from Walnut Park, and I know most of you might not know what Walnut Park, but it has been a neighborhood in St. Louis, Missouri that has been the #1 murder capital for several decades now. And so where I come from, nothing good's come from. They don't stand in groups or understand anything that happens internationally or anything like that. So I'm going to apologize for every word that I attempt to say that I say wrong. I hope you catch my drift. Okay? But I am a glaring example of Chairman Omala Yeshitela and the work of the African People's Socialist Party in the dedication of bringing the African working class into political life. That we understand that the attack on the African community, the black community, goes long before, that it has not been a time that struggling against this horrific genocide system that has attacked Africa over 600 years ago. That ever since 600 years ago, that it's never been a generation that haven't struggled for our liberation. And every single time that we have organized and we have came into organization, from the great Marcus Garvey and all of the ones, Malcolm X, it has been attacked. That's what we know. So, and I am an example of the African working class being able to stand before you and speak in my own voice about our struggle against imperialism. Russia is not responsible for me coming into political life. Russia is not responsible for my mom sitting on the pews twice in a church for her sons being murdered in the streets of St. Louis, Missouri. Russia is not responsible for sending my father to an unjust war in Vietnam. That was not our war. And that was not Russia that sent my father to Vietnam. That was not Russia that dumped dope in the black community and declared war on my community and made sure that we would not have any way to feed our family beyond crack cocaine in our community. It was not Russia that my father went to Vietnam and had Agent Orange, and because I'm 42 with a heart condition that America would not pay for right now, that was not Russia. And I did not need Russia to tell me that I was colonized. But it was August 9th, when Mike Brown was slayed on Canfield Drive, that I took to the street as a black woman that understood that every single time or any kind of relationship that I ever had with the so-called police have been terrorists in my community. That a year before Mike Brown was murdered, I was pregnant with my first child in Ferguson, where they pulled me over with my sister in the car. We had did nothing wrong, but as it was common practice, so this is not something that I had not ever went through. But to make a long story short, because I had a Metrolink ticket from 1997, when the year is 2010, that they take me to jail and shove me against their car. My water broke. They would not call the paramedics because they said I was lying. I peed on myself, because you know what they think about black women. We don't feel nothing. We can't feel pain. It wasn't until another police officer came that decided that let's call the paramedics, where they told me that my child had 50% chance of survival. Where the police stood outside my hospital room like I murdered somebody. This is the trauma that black community experienced. So I don't see any way that America be reformed. Because everything that I ever known of how it has been built has been on my back and on the indigenous people's land. So I'm speaking to all freedom-loving people that I am part of an organization that is fighting for all of us, for humanity, for the bees, for humanity, because capitalism don't care about none of us. So you got to make sure that we on the right side of the question, that we on the right side of history, because the African working class, the peasants that have felt the horrific attacks of this system have to lead the struggle. So I just wanted to say that these most recent attacks by the FBI expose, I was telling the comrade earlier, we were talking, said, don't hate it, I love it. I love it. I've been waiting. I've been waiting to unite. And they have allowed us their platform because they tried to keep you mut. It's a reason why you didn't know Chairman Amali Yeshatella. It's a reason why you didn't know of the Uhuru Movement until they allowed us their platform to show their crooked hand. To show their crooked hand. So now we are standing in the same room. We are standing in the same room. This is a testament of the struggle. See, now Chairman Amali Yeshatella have took us beyond the 60s, where we can answer the question. We can answer questions that have not been answered. That was critical questions of the struggle. We had to answer these questions. It's important. I heard another comrade say earlier, I learned a lot from you. I was listening and I was talking, and I don't see your face right now. But he said to me, he said, a great revolutionary once said, a comrade with no political education is dangerous. That's important. Theory is everything. And the African working class had been without theory, so our struggle were always compromised, but they up against the vanguard party that has theory. That has theory that scares the shit out of them. I'm gonna just call it what it is. It point blank talk about concrete work. This is why the FBI attacked us. This right here, this newspaper, is the great work that we have been doing in St. Louis with the Black Power Blueprint. Since Mike Brown died and they dumped so much money into St. Louis, when the world was watching, because they knew people from all over the world was coming to find leadership. The world, black, brown, all kind of people I had seen on the grounds willing to do whatever to make the struggle, and they jumped in front of the struggle and turned it into something else. And before we know it, we got neo-colonial puppets in office that's pushing the same agenda that the ones that they replaced. I ran for office as well in St. Louis, Missouri. Akile Anai, that's so fiery that you probably seen in the press conference, slamming the media every chance they got with their trickery, trying to trick her into a box, using this propaganda war against Russia to make us incriminate ourselves. You can't tell us who to be friends with. And you can't tell us how to fight you back. We be friends with whoever. And I stand here boldly and say that we unite with Russia. That this is an unjust war. This is an unjust war.
That's right.
And you can't tell me that I can't speak on affairs that affect me, because this war do affect me, and we watched it closely, just like Vietnam, and you turned on us, and then you tell us that we some kind of illegal aliens. You are the illegal alien. You don't tell us. We tell you, and we have exposed you. And this is why I'm just waiting to see what they're gonna do, because they don't have the side of the people. They don't have the people. They don't have the people. They do not have the people. We are not afraid because we have nothing to lose. We have nothing to lose. This system is falling. Who's gonna cry for a fallen system that deserved to die? Where is the coffin? So on July 29th, I woke up around, I received a phone call. Y'all can have a seat. I don't want y'all to keep standing. On July 29th, I received a phone call and said, "Comrade, we are under attack." And I was like, am I dreaming? I said, huh? Get up now. We under attack. So I got up and I knew what that meant. So I got me and my partner up at that time, And me and her got ourselves ready, and we went to the headquarters. And when I made it to Chairman Omali Yeshitela's house, I could not believe my eyes, because I was like, okay, we under attack. It's gonna be a couple of SUV police cars and, you know, a couple of police, maybe a dozen. No, I ran into the Army. I ran into the Army. A huge tank. Police cars everywhere. Not police cars, these are unmarked cars with tinted windows, with Army clothes on, with Army gear on. I'm talking about how much American dollar taxes that they do this with. Because for a cell phone and a laptop, a computer, like literally you could have knocked on the door with your search warrant. You know, the dramatics. But all that was part of their propaganda to terrorize our community. The neighbor, Chairman Omali Yeshitela neighbor, his house had a camera where they put tape on the camera so they could keep everybody from being able to see what they do, their corruption. I don't know all what they did, but I know that what they're trying to do now is to make us suspend every dollar that we have organized for the Black community and stop the progress that we have been making with the Black Power Blueprint, with the basketball court, with the Uhuru House, with our community center, where we feed so many people and young people that we work with in our community. We have a One Africa, One Nation farmers market where we created a way for people in our community to start their own businesses, where I guess Square is working with the Russians too, because, you know, Square has partnered with us and gave us the devices for the people in our community to be able to take all measures of cash resources. And I guess the government is in bed with us too, because they allowed little old Black woman like me to fight to have EBT, which is big. That's not small, because most of the people in our community are living off barely $5 a day. So to be able to have a farmer's market right in the hardcore community where it's not a food desert, but it's a power desert, where it's constantly being looted and no way to feed yourself, to create a way for us to be able to circulate EBT in the Black community is huge. That's nothing small. And these are the things that we have been able to work on, and they want us to spend every dollar fighting them. But we have had pour out of support, and we calling on you today to continue to show solidarity, make statements of the organization saying that you stand with the Uhuru Movement and you stand against the FBI and these unrighteous raids that they have done. And also make a donation to our organization to show them that you are unapologetic, unafraid, along with all the tons of white people and regular people that have donated to our organization. They think that they can put an end to it, but they can't. They just intensify it, I know. Because the people of the world are tired of being bullied by it, and they are not all powerful anymore, and they know it. They're afraid of China, they're afraid of Russia, and they're afraid of the Black community. They have declared that they are afraid of China, Russia, and the Black community. And I tell America, your fear is right. You should be afraid. You should be afraid, because I'm going to organize, agitate, educate, and build. I will organize, agitate, educate, and build. We are winning. We will win. Uhuru. No more raids. No more raids. No more raids. If they gonna raid something, they need to raid Trump Towers. If they gonna raid something, they need to go raid the White House. If they gonna raid something, they need to go to Biden's house. So if you're gonna raid somebody, go raid the real criminal to win. I have one more person, and I want him to read this statement because it's really important, because I want him to go through some details, because, have a seat, I'm sorry. Because what they did is they had to go to the white community. They went to Chairman Omali Yeshitela's house, but they had to go to white solidarity. And in St. Louis, on the south side is white, right? And we have a huge building that say, unity through reparations. And white people have to drive past that building and ask themselves, reparations? It's a question. It's the first time that most white people in St. Louis probably have been confronted with real things like, what is reparations? And if I'm one of those white people that love humanity, I mean, what's my place in that? They had to go there. So now we have been able to extend the revolution, the black revolution, in the white community. So now they have to be confronted with white face speaking black power. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Thank you, everybody. I am a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee and its mass movement, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And those two solidarity organizations were created by and work under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. We organize in our own white communities for reparations to the Black liberation movement. So I'm about to read a statement that the African People's Solidarity Committee put out on our website, I think it was yesterday. African People's Solidarity Committee demands stop the attacks on the African People's Socialist Party. Stop the attacks on the African People's Socialist Party, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, and the Uhuru Movement. Victory to African people. Hands off Uhuru. The African People's Solidarity Committee and Uhuru Solidarity Movement condemn the violent U.S. government assault on the African People's Socialist Party, prompted by the government's bogus and slanderous allegations of Russian influence. At 5 a.m. on July 29, 2022, the FBI raided the home of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Deputy Chair Ona Zane Yeshitela in St. Louis, Missouri. They also raided the Uhuru House in St. Petersburg, Florida, and the homes of Party Director of Agitprop Akile Anai, African People's Solidarity Committee Chair Penny Hess, and APSC Central Committee Member Kitty Riley, USM Chair Jesse Neville, and USM Vice Chair Amanda Carlozzi. The Uhuru Solidarity Center at 2654 Gravois Avenue in St. Louis was also targeted because it represents the party's strategy to organize white people to stand in solidarity with African liberation and reparations. As the organizations of white people formed by and working under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, we express our unconditional support for Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the African People's Socialist Party, and the Uhuru Movement. We unite with the work of winning reparations from white people for the programs of the party that are building African dual and contending power. Historically, the U.S. government and its secret political police have attacked and assassinated African leaders who have fought against all forms of colonial domination and for the interests of African people, in particular the African working class. We condemn these vicious attacks. We call on white people and all freedom-loving people to defend Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who has relentlessly and tirelessly worked for 50 years for freedom, liberation, and reparations for African people in the U.S. and around the world. These assaults come at a time when the African People's Socialist Party, with Chairman Omali Yeshitela as its leader, is recognized as the vanguard, the most powerful and influential African liberation organization in the world. This comes as the programs of the Black Power Blueprint are at a height of their success in building political and economic power in the hands of African people. The Black Power Blueprint projects and programs in North St. Louis include the construction of a community center, a community basketball court, an African women's doula training program, the community garden and beautiful murals that were just painted, a farmer's market, which this is the third year in a row they are harvesting fresh food, the renovated housing for formerly incarcerated Africans who will be part of a workforce development program, and the renovations that will be the home of the Uhuru Community Commercial Kitchen and Cafe. The rapid development of these dynamic institutions are bringing a new, positive, self-determined future to the most impoverished African community of North St. Louis. With the Black Power Blueprint, the African People's Socialist Party has done something by and for the African community of North St. Louis. While the colonial city government implements nothing but economic destruction, police containment, and gentrification for African people. The ever-growing Black Power Blueprint institutions were built through thousands of donations from supporters, including white people contributing as a stand of reparations. These brutal assaults are an attempt to intimidate white support for the African liberation movement. And they are trying to discredit and isolate the centuries-long struggle of African people for national liberation, for self-determination and reparations, and the end of white colonial domination in all forms. What we are seeing is the continuation of the US government's counterinsurgency programs, such as COINTELPRO, that targeted the Black Revolution of the 1960s using tactics to discredit the movement through psychological warfare, smearing individuals and groups using forged documents, and by planting false reports in the media, harassment, wrongful imprisonment, illegal violence, and assassinations. The US government has murdered beloved African leaders over and over again. We remember the targeting and political imprisonment of Marcus Garvey and the brutal assassinations of Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King, Black Panther Party leader Fred Hampton, and Patrice Lumumba, to name a few. The African People's Solidarity Committee calls on white people to stand between the violent face of the US colonial state and its target, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the African People's Socialist Party, the Uhuru Movement, and the African working class community. We recognize that what is known as the racial divide in this country is in fact what Chairman Omali Yeshitela calls the colonial mode of production. White people sit on the pedestal of social wealth and democratic rights built on the stolen labor, resources, and freedoms of African people on the stolen land of indigenous people against whom genocide was committed. So contribute reparations to the worldwide movement for African self-determination led by Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party, and take a stand in defense of the Uhuru Movement. Donate to the committee to defend the Uhuru Movement against these brutal attacks. You can do that at apspuhuru.org/donate. Join the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. Hands off the Uhuru Movement. Unity through reparations. And hands off the African People's Socialist Party.
Just in ending, I just really want to appreciate the invitation again and the time that has been allotted to us. I really want to appreciate it and just say to us, we see Fred Hampton on the stage. If we had an opportunity to defend his life, this is your opportunity now. Uhuru.
Thank you. And let me reiterate that we offer nothing but unequivocal support and solidarity with your organization while it's under attack. They come for you in the morning, they come for us at night, and we are on your side. We are against U.S. imperialism, we are against the state, and we are with you.